Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on board the Thomas Doggett on our journey downstream to the Royal Borough of Greenwich. Now, folks, at this point in the Thames, I have to take you all for a short safety announcement. It's not meant to alarm anyone, just routine. Life jackets are on the top deck in the silver lockers and under the thick seating in the lower saloon. Life buoys and life rafts are found behind the wheelhouse. They can float freely or be set off by, and they both slide to open. If you're on the top deck, wondering where your emergency exits are, then just use your own imagination. Now, on the way down river, folks, either side, quite a few places of interest. Now, someone downstairs, they was asking whether there's going to be a commentary, but they were on the top deck like a little live commentary further down the river. I'm just at the back here, a little raise of hands. Anyone like a commentary going down the river? Yep, lovely. Well, I'll start on our right, folks. The large ferries, 2 pods surrounding the wheel, and that's a pod for every borough of London. Now, it takes 30 minutes to go the whole way round the Eye. Recently been popular with marriage proposals. Now, these take place right at the very top. Now, a little word of advice for gentlemen on board thinking of doing it. Make sure she's going to say yes. Otherwise, it's going to be a pretty awkward 15 minutes back down. On our left, folks, the grey ship, the Tattershall Castle. Once a ferry on the River Humber. It was brought up river to be a floating arts gallery. However, it went bust after 4 years. As you can all see now, it's a floating pub. It took more money in the first month of it being a pub than the previous 4 years of it being an art gallery. Now, it just goes to show you all the type of artists that we have here in London. Behind the trees to our left, the Whitehall Court Mansions, once where Sir Winston Churchill had his wartime offices, now luxury apartments. Golden Jubilee walkways. Now, it is said, folks, if you get a wave back off this first bridge, 5 years of good luck. So give them a wave, folks, 5 years of good luck. If they don't wave back, they're probably from London. Now, I'll make you do this, folks. It keeps their hands busy. It stops the people from throwing things down at you all. On our last one up last night, strawberry milkshakes all over the top. Right, give them away. One soda drink folks to our right, the Royal Festival Hall. Now, that building to our right, built for the Great Festival of Britain. Many famous people they performed live to our right. However, they've all since sadly passed away. You might know a few of them. Whitney Houston, since sadly passed away. Michael Jackson, since sadly passed away. Frank Sinatra, since sadly passed away. All we're waiting for now, of course, is the Justin Bieber. To our left, folks, on the embankment wall, that stone obelisk, Cleopatra's Needle, given to us by a grateful Egyptian government following the defeat of Napoleon at the battles during the Second World War. All the men, they were fighting for their country. The ladies of London, they were left at home to construct the bridge. This was the only bridge here on the Thames to have been completed on time and under budget. So the ladies of London, they did an excellent job, so well done there. Well done. Once through the bridge, folks, over on our left, the impressive building with a green bow, Somerset House, built for the Dukes and the Earls of Somerset. Over there, where birth, death and marriage certificates, that's where they were once kept. It's now home to a criminal organisation, the Inland Revenue. That's their headquarters. Now you see the white ship with the yellow funnel over on our left, the HQS Wellington. Once a sloop for the New Zealand Navy, it's now a livery hall for the Honourable Company of Master Mariners. Now to be part of that club on our left, folks, you must have been a sea captain for over 25 years. Prince Philip, the Queen's husband, he's the president of that livery hall. Now look before the Wellington, looking on the river's wall on our left, you see the... Now they had a few rhymes that went along with it, folks. If the lions' heads are drinking, then London is sinking. If the tide's up to the lion's manes, then London is going down the drain. But of course the most important one, if the lions' heads are fully ducked, then London is well and truly flooding. Over on our right, drop throughout the day. So give a wave, folks, make it look like you're really enjoying yourselves. You might find yourself on daytime TV. If you're with someone else's husband or wife, or you're supposed to be at work, then put your head down and look the other way. Look on the right though, folks, look at those sandy beaches we have here on the Thames. It's a very clean river. Who needs the Bahamas? And we've got it right here. However, if you do ever go down to the beaches on the Thames, don't ever go swimming, as it's a very strong flowing tide. It's very dangerous. There's also quite a lot of sharks in the Thames, so don't ever go swimming. Now the red brick building to our right with the Oxo Tower. Oxo, famous for the gravy stocking. Now when this building was being built, advertisement on the banks of the Thames, it was illegal. The River Thames is deemed a royal highway. Now as you can see, the Oxo company, they heard Oxo, it can be seen all over London. It's said to have saved them thousands of pounds worth of advertisement. The building to our left with the green sloping roof, the old City of London School for Boys. The first public school to have been built in London. Many famous people they were educated to our left, such as Sir Winston, Spencer Churchill, before going to Harrow respectively, and of course myself, before going to Swanley College. So known to us in London as the Tunnel of Love. Now it is said, if you kiss your loved one going through the tunnel, you will receive many happy years within your relationship. Now if there's any single women on board, come and see me. If there's any single men, I'm afraid it's the barman downstairs. Now if I look at the abutments of this first bridge, they should remind you of church pulpits. Now they was built on the express wish of Queen Victoria to commemorate the Blackfriars Monastery which stood on our left on the north shore. As we go through the bridge, either side of us, the red support columns. This is where the old St Paul's Railway Bridge used to stand. Now the modern trains, see, they became too heavy for the bridge, so they took the top half down, but they had to keep the support columns in place in fear of it disturbing the foundations of the following two bridges. Now as you come through on our right, the brick building with the large chimney, the old bankside power station, the first power station to have been built on the banks of the Thames. It's now home to the Tate Modern Art Gallery and is completely free to enter. Now after 5 minutes of walking around that building, you do quickly realise why it's free. Go over there today, see half a cow in a plastic box, a light bulb that flashes on and off, and an unmade teenager's bed. Now what a fantastic day. Now on our left, folks, the large dome and golden cross of St Paul's Cathedral. designed by Sir Christopher Wren, said to have been his masterpiece. Now that building took 35 years to build. It's 365 feet tall, and that's a foot for every day of the year. Now Sir Christopher Wren, Admiral Lord Nelson and Florence Nightingale, they're all buried in the crypt of St. Paul. Now ahead on our right, Globe Theatre. Now on summer nights, folks, you can see all of Shakespeare's greatest plays. From Romeo and Juliet to another one of these good ones, Macbeth. That's one. Now it's all done how it used to be done, folks. No stage lighting, no microphone. It's the only flat-roof building you'll see here in London since the Great Fire. Now you see that red flag is flying. Now that means a play is going to be performed this evening. Now this Orlando, alright, it was owned by the Bishop of Winchester. Now to our right, folks, is where you would have found all the dog fighting, bear baiting, gambling dens and houses of ill meeting. As you can see now, they've replaced it with a Pizza Express and a Zizzi's. Now of course we don't have none of that fun stuff anymore here in the city. Ahead of us, folks, Suffolk Road Bridge, also known as the least used bridge here in London. The approach roads, they're hidden so well into the back streets of the offices, no one can find the bridge to use it. Now it is said if you see anyone on the bridge, do give them a wave, as they're most probably not. Now that lady up there, we came through about 3 hours ago. She's walking across there. She really ain't good. Now on our right, folks, you got a little building with a great windows, right? The Anchor Tavern. Recently celebrated his 400th birthday. Shakespeare, he once hired the attic of that pub as a dressing room for his actors before performing at the Old Globe Theatre. Now the Old Globe Theatre, I just stood behind the pub in Park Street. Now I must admit, folks, that is one of the nicest pubs on the banks of the Thames. I have been to all of them, purely for them. Now in between the buildings on our right, folks, you're going to see a pirate ship. A replica of Sir Francis Drake's ship, the Golden Hind. Now if you don't know Drake is, he was the first ever Englishman to have circumnavigated the globe. Now he was under secret orders from Queen Elizabeth I to steal as much gold and riches from countries like Spain and Portugal. Now when he got home, he paid off this country's national debt 3 times over, and he received a knighthood for his trouble. Now look in the skyline to our left of 1666. Now that was designed by Sir Christopher Wren. Like as I said, to resemble a candle, as it is said that's what started the fire. If you laid that monument down in the easterly direction, which is the way we're heading, it would pinpoint where the fire first took place in a baker's shop in Pudding Lane. Now this bridge, the famous London Bridge. There's been 4 London bridges to span the Thames at this point. The first one built by the Romans 2,000 years ago. The one previous to this, sinking into the mud, it was taken down brick by brick and then sold to an American businessman for $2 million. It now stands in the Arizona desert, spanning the man-made Lake Havasu. Now you see on our left the building with a rounded roof, the old Billingsgate Fish Market. Been a fish market on that site for over 900 years. The tradition, it was sadly broken a number of years ago. It now stands in the Canary Wharf development. Now you see behind the trees on our left, folks, that impressive looking building, Water Guard House. headquarters of Her Majesty's Customs and Excise. Now, any illegal contraband taken from this country's ports, like alcohol, cigarettes and drugs, they're taken to the basement of that building, stored for 1 month, and then burnt in the incinerator. Now folks, my dad, he's been working on this river 22 years this year, and he has never seen a puff of smoke coming out of those chimneys. Now it is strongly rumoured that their Christmas parties are phenomenal. Now on our right folks, dominating London's skyline, the Shard of Glass. The tallest building in Western Europe, 1,016 feet tall. It has 78 floors, 3/4 of the way up, London's first ever 6-star hotel, the Shangri-La. Now in the Shangri-La Hotel is a swimming pool, and it's open to the public. Now if you wanted to go and sit around that swimming pool today, you must spend at least £500 around the bar. Now that might sound a lot of money folks, but in the Shangri-La Hotel, that's 2 bottles of brown ale and a bag of pork scratchings, if you like. Now ahead on our right, the large warship, the HMS Belfast. Now that was built in the Harland and Wolff shipyard, Northern Ireland, the same shipyard that built the ill-fated Titanic. Now you see the Union Jack is flying. That's the only Union Jack you'll see here in London today. If you see that flag flying from any building, it's a Union flag. It's only a Union Jack when it's flown from the jack staff of a ship. Otherwise it's just a Union flag. Now folks, the Belfast is seen action during the Second World War, and it last fired its guns in anger during the North Korean campaign in the 1950s. Now in total it has 12 guns. Every single one of them can shoot a 102-pound shell up to 14 land miles. Now it's a museum today folks, open 7 days a week. Now you can explore from the crow's nest right down to the engine room. And I do believe children that they do go through. Now behind the trees on our left, the world famous 100 years to build. Now over there today where you find the crown jewels, it's been many things in its time, the tower, a fortress, an observatory, a zoo, but most famously a place of imprisonment and execution. Now if you look along the riverway, traitors to the crown, they would have been rowed through before being beheaded up on Tower Hill. Now ahead of us folks, the Tower Road Bridge. Opened in 1894, the centre bascules are about to go beneath. They both weigh 1,100 tonnes each. Now they could rise up to allow larger shipping in and out of the upper Pool of Boat. Now you can actually walk across the 2 top catwalks when a ship's coming through. I think it's about £10 an adult, and they've actually put a glass door in on the bottom, so you can look straight down. Now don't look too carefully though folks. You'll be very surprised what you can see from down here. Last week we had a Scottish wedding. They weren't very pleasant sight. Now this bridge though folks is the most easterly boundary of the square mile city of London. It's a very famous bridge for sailors. It would have been the last place they could have waved off to their love. Now once we go through the Tower Bridge, we leave the city of Stirling. We're now in the east end of London, in the Docklands area. Now look at Butler's Wharf to our right. Now that would have been filled to the brim with cargo from all around the world. They've now been converted into unaffordable housing. They're filled with people from all around the world. Now as you can see folks, on our left, St Catherine's Pier. We've got to make a very short stop, you see, pick up a few more passengers. So please stay seated, but behind us, a nice little photo opportunity of your day out here in London. You've got the Tower Road Bridge and the Shard of Glass in the middle. Nice little souvenir of the day out. Now folks, when we do leave St Catherine's Pier, further downriver, there's still quite a few places of interest. Now like I say, a little raise of hands again folks. Would anybody like... Put in the containers, towed to Kent and burnt in an incinerator in Belvedere. Now that single engine diesel tug, that takes 100 lorries off the roads of London, just from one diesel. Now what he's done is burnt in incinerator, then taken to Tilbury, put onto trains and taken to the north of England. It's then turned into breeze blocks. So that's what happens to most of London's household rubbish. It's turned into breeze blocks. Now on our right folks, the Aviva. In the last week, we've had quite a few super yachts coming up the river. Now this one, it came last week. It's leaving late September. Now that's owned by Joe Lewis, who owns Tottenham Football Club. Now these yachts, they're priced £1 million per square metre. Now you can look it up on your phones, the Aviva, £120 million. And that's before he puts all them other little boats in the back of it. And I have seen photos, there's a full-size tennis court on the middle deck. Now has anyone on the boat today seen the musical Oliver Twist? Yeah? Well, shortly on our right, there's a little creekway to St Saviour's Dock. Now it's up that creekway, when the tide's out, it's a muddy creek, where Fagin dropped the jewels in the mud at the end of the film. Also where Bill Sykes fell to his death. It's exactly the same as Dickens' times. The only thing is to put a little bridge across the front of it. Other than that, it's exactly the same. Now, like I said earlier, folks, the price of housing in this area of London is very expensive. So what a lot of people are doing today, they're going to Holland, bringing back these old Dutch barges you see either side of us, bringing them back to London and paying a mooring fee of around £20,000 to £30,000 a year. And that all depends on the size of your boat. Now I must admit they are quite luxurious inside, and they ain't that much of a bad way to live. Those don't mind the front room bouncing around every once in a while. And I have heard you can always cut your neighbours free in the middle of the night. Folks, I've had 3 new neighbours this week. Now on the way down river today, you're going to see a lot of workings either side of the river. Now you see ahead of us them cranes. You're going to see quite a few sites. That's Chambers Wharf on our right. And what they're doing, they're building a super sewer. The Victorian sewer system in London, it cannot cope with the current population. So if there's a heavy rainfall, raw sewage is pumped into the Thames. So they're building a bigger one, the Thames Tideway Tunnel, and it's going to take around 10 to 15 years until it's completed. £9 million. Now I'll tell you why I know this. I bought that house last week. I'm actually having a barbecue tonight. You can all come round. Just go to the bottom, keep pressing the button for the penthouse. Someone will soon let you in. There we go, folks. Look behind us. The Tower Road Bridge is opening up. That's a very rare occasion in the summer months. There's a nice little photo opportunity behind us. Now I must warn you though, it's £1 a photo. Now on our left folks, Oliver's Wharf. To the left of that, an old pub called the Town of Ramsgate. It was once an Admiralty court where convicted pirates and smugglers, now that's where they was once judged. If they was found guilty of piracy, they would have been given the last tot of rum in the town of Ramsgate, walked along the foreshore, and you see the three red balconies with the letter E, that's execution dock. Now they would have been strapped to the riverbed and allowed free tides to pass over their bodies. Now that means it was underwater for 36 hours, and this was called the Grace of Wapping. Now the man who carried this out was the hanging Judge Jeffrey, the oldest uniformed police force anywhere in the world. Older than the more famous Bow Street runners. The Thames Police Force, they would have been working to catch pirates and thieves in that very quiet strip of the Thames a number of years away, outside a pub called the Mayflower. Now the Mayflower is named after the Mayflower pilgrim ship that was built on our right in Rotherhithe. It was then crewed with 80 rubber-hired men. They then went to Plymouth to pick up the Pilgrim Fathers, and then they went in search for the new world that we now know as the United States of America. Now that pub, it has 3 licenses. It has a pawnbroker's license, a license to sell British and American postage stamps, and most importantly, a license to sell goods. Now you see of the 80 rubber-hired men that went in search for the new world. Now you see ahead on our left, folks, that little white building with the willow tree in the garden, the Prospect of Whitby. Now that's the oldest tavern on the banks of the Thames, said to have opened its doors when King Henry VIII was on the throne. It was then known as the Devil's Punch Bowl. It used to attract many young sailors, thieves and pirates. It still does, but therefore that would have attracted next morning on board one of His Majesty's ships. Now he had just been press ganged into the Royal Navy. Now this had to be done, folks, because no one wanted to join the Navy at this time. The life expectancy, 2 to 3 years. Many of those, they died in battle, and the rest, they died of the dreaded disease, scurvy. Now you see ahead on our left, folks, that orange complex of apartments built on the sites of Free Trade Wharf. Now it's built in such a strange way, it looks a little like Legoland, but it's designed that way. There's 150 apartments there. Every single one of them has a riverside view. That's why it's built in such a strange way. Now if you can boast the riverside view here in London, the price of your housing, it goes much higher. But like I said earlier, it's built on the site of Free Trade Wharf, and that gets its name because during the... Now as we come round the bend, folks, on our right, Globe Rock with a red crane outside, that was once the biggest rice mill in southern England. Now look at the way it's built, folks, right up to the river's wall, just like all the other way around on the Thames. They're designed this way, so the tugs and barges, they could have come right alongside, delivered their cargo through the loopholes and be away on the same time. Now the word wharf, you're going to see a lot of it down the river Thames, and that's actually an acronym. It stands for Warehouse at River Front. Warehouse at River Front. Now ahead on our left, folks, a little entrance to Limehouse Marina. On the knuckle of the lock, the old lockkeeper's house. It's now owned by the celebrity chef, Gordon Ramsay. It's now a gastro pub, and it's called The Narrow. Now, if anyone was wondering the difference between the Grand Union Canals, making your way up to this country's northern city, through there you get to Liverpool, Manchester, and Birmingham. There's a little lock entrance to Limehouse. Now on our left, folks, Limehouse. If you ask anyone in London today, where's the Chinatown, they would send you towards Soho and Leicester Square. The original Chinatown was formed here on our left in Limehouse, where you would have found the shanty towns, the gambling dens. That's where it all started. Now cuckold, it means deceased husband. And many years ago, on the foreshore to our right, if the wives had been misbehaving, husbands, they could bring them down to the foreshore, and for the price of a halfpenny, strap them in a ducking stall and dunk them in the Thames. Now it was said to have been a very busy place on a Sunday morning, and I've heard from a very good source it's being brought back into practice. Now believe it or not, it is a true story. You can see one of the ducking stalls in the Winchester Museum. And that with a glass attic and 2 chimneys either side. Now this house, it was once owned by Admiral Lord Nelson. It is said he used to stand in the attic of that house and he could see a fine view of his ships at anchor in the Deptford dockyard just down on our way. Now just to think folks, now that would have been the tallest building in the area by some way. Now on our left folks, the Canary Wharf development. Now this is the financial district here in London. Recently been given planning permission to build 17 new skyscrapers. Now you see the one with the red scaffolding? That's going to be the new China Bank. And that's going to be competing with the same size as the Shard of Glass. Now many people, they think Canary Wharf is the name of the building with a pyramid top with the light that flashes. Now that's actually called 1 Canada Square. Canary Wharf is the name of the land in which it's built on, as that would have been where ships from the Canary Islands would have dropped off their cargo. Now I'll give you a bit of information about the Thames itself. Now at the moment the tide is flooding in from the sea. It will flood into London for 5 hours. It will then reach the high water mark, 5 to 7 metres of water. That's a lot of water rushing in and out of the sea. Now people, they think the River Thames is a dirty river. It's actually the cleanest river in Europe. It's home to 128 different species of fish, including salmon and trout, which have been caught in the upper reaches of the Thames. Now about 4 years ago, a whale actually made its way upriver as far as the Houses of Parliament. So it just goes to show it's a very clean river. And quite often at this, and that's where King Henry VIII used to keep his hunting dogs when he was living at the Greenwich Palace. So that's how it arrives the name, the Isle of Dogs. Now as we keep coming around the bend, you're going to see a little entrance to Millwall Dock. Now Millwall Dock, it was bombed during the Blitz. It was never repaired, it was just built upon. And are we all familiar with the football club, Millwall? Yeah? Well, that Millwall Football Club, it was founded by the dockers that worked in the walls of the river to our left. And that's how it gets the name Millwall. Now as we come around the bend folks, we're about 10-15 minutes out from Greenwich now. So there's not really much for me to talk about anymore. Either side of us, all it is unaffordable housing here in London. And I wouldn't want to bore you with all the prices. So what I'll do, I'll put the mic down for 10 minutes. Rough idea about quick days, we've been doing about 8 knots on our journey down. They're very impressed with a ship that size, purely under sail. Now ahead of us, the 4 chimneys of the Greenwich power station. Now that's a backup power station for the London Underground. Recently been taught, they're going to refit it with 4 new gas turbines. And once again it will power the London Underground. Now there's many things for you to do in Greenwich today. Everything's within about 10 minutes walking distance. There's many pubs in Greenwich, there's a food festival. There's 32 pubs it goes, and if you want to know the best one, it's the one closest to the pier. And that's but about the boats today, they're every 30 minutes. The last boat, 6 o'clock. Now, if you want to go to the barrier, the boats are on the half-hour one. And, right, so just stay seated until we come along the pier, and I'll be out there. But thank you all for travelling with us today, folks, and I hope you have a safe remainder to your day here in Greenwich. Thank you.
De miért jó régi hajóba bemenni? Ebbe. Itt én.
Abba, ami ott van. Ez a sok vitorlás.
Ja. Én meg azt hittem, ez a hülyeség.
És abban a szép öreg hajóban, a vitorlás hajóban. Nem a daypass. Nem, a mot az a... MOT.